What's up everybody, my name is Ronnie DiMaggio. I'm a product specialist here at BMW of Morristown. Today's video we're going to be doing a walk around and overview of this 2019 BMW X6M. This is a certified pre-owned X6M. It is not a brand new car, of course. It's on our certified pre-owned lot, available for sale. So if you're interested in an X6M, be sure to come check this one out. But we're going to check it out with you in this video today. First things first, this is an M car, so we're going to pop the hood and check out the engine. Alright, so here we are under the hood of the 2019 X6M. This is, of course, the heart of the car. With an M car, the engine is always a really important thing to talk about, so let's talk about this one. This is a 4.4 liter twin-turbo V8. It is called the S63, and it is a very powerful engine. It's pretty potent at 567 horsepower, so the X6M has plenty of power to work with when you're out on the road. You'll notice that the engine does have a nice little M badge up here, as well as a pretty cool looking engine cover. You have kind of like a faux valve cover over here on the sides. Then you have 4 little notches here denoting that it is an 8-cylinder engine, 4 on each side. So definitely a potent engine, really strong performance out of this S63. But I'm sure you guys have had enough of hearing about the engine. I'm sure you want to actually hear what it sounds like. So let's go around to the back of the car and we'll show you guys a quick exhaust clip, and then we'll go over the exterior design of the vehicle. So that's going to do it for under the hood. Why don't we take a look around this X6M? We'll go over some of the design elements. Starting up front, you'll notice that the X6M has a very traditional M aesthetic. So you have these dual kidney grills with the double slats. You have a much more aggressive front bumper than you would in a regular X6. You have that nice honeycomb mesh trimming the lower and outer portions of the bumper. You can take a look at the headlights as well. These are BMW adaptive LED headlights. What adaptive means is that when you turn the steering wheel, the headlights will actually turn to look at the part of the road that you're turning towards. So if you turn left, the headlights will tilt a little bit left, help illuminate the road a little bit better. Really great feature when you're driving at night, especially on some twisty back roads. If you want to come back over to the side of the vehicle, you'll notice that these wheels are pretty big. These are a 21-inch wheel. They're wearing a 285 wide Michelin Pilot Super Sport tire. And of course, hiding behind that wheel, you can see a pretty massive M brake caliper painted blue. You have some nice drilled rotors as well. As is standard on pretty much every M car, stopping power, or big brakes I should say, is something that you'll always expect on an M car. Stopping power is never hard to come by, especially when you have a grippy tire like that. Up front, you have Pilot Super Sports in the back. These are slightly wider at 325. It is still a 21-inch wheel, so it's not a staggered setup as far as rim size, but the tire size is staggered, slightly bigger in the back. Looking at the side of the car as well, we have the M wing mirrors. This is a trademark of M cars. Looks really nice. Just adds to that aggressive look of the X6M. It's also very sleek. Almost mimics like a 2-post mirror design. Just a cool little touch. You have a nice little fender vent as well down here, right behind that front wheel. And of course, because it's a BMW, that vent is functional. I can see the tire if we look right through the vent here. So BMW doesn't do fake vents. Some companies do, but BMW does not. That is a legitimate vent that helps to add to some of the aerodynamic properties of the car, maybe remove turbulent air from the wheel well. And that angle that you're looking at right there really shows off what the X6 is all about as opposed to the X5. If this were an X5, the roof would continue a little bit and we'd drop down like a more traditional SUV, but with the X6, you get that nice slope back roof line. If you want the practicality, you can go for an X5, but if you want that stylish element, you can certainly go for the X6. Speaking of stylish elements, because this is a pre-owned car, there are a couple of very minor modifications. Chief among them is this carbon fiber spoiler. I personally think it looks fantastic. It's a really nice carbon fiber weave. It's a 2x2 weave, looks really solid. This is not, of course, an OEM piece, but it looks cool. We have our nice chrome X6M badge as well. Then if you take a little lower of a look, you can see the signature M quad tailpipes with a nice gloss black and kind of honeycomb trimmed diffuser. All looks really cool. I think the back of the X6M is one of its best angles. You can see those really wide tires. Has a nice squat, aggressive look. But with all that said, that's going to do it for the outside of the X6M. We're going to take a look at the cargo area as well as the rear seats. Then we'll hop up front, go over some of the interior details as well. All right, so here we are around back of the X6M. Let's take a look at the cargo area. As you can see, it is still very spacious back here. So that slope back roofline does take away from your cargo capacity a little bit, of course. But if you're interested in an X6M as opposed to an X5M, you're most likely willing to sacrifice some of that practicality for cargo space. You still have plenty of room back here. And if we also take a look underneath, you have a spare tire, as well as a tow hook, portable jack, some other stuff like that. You have some nets and straps and stuff on the side, some things to tie down cargo if you need to. You have a 12-volt power outlet over there on the side, so some nice practical elements to the cargo area of the X6M as well. You do, of course, have a power tailgate. Click the button and it closes on its own. Why don't you guys follow me around to the side of the car? We're going to take a look at the back seat in the X6M. As you'll notice, the X6M has plenty of back seat room. It's perfectly adequate to sit back here. This is my seating position up here in front. I'm about 5'8". I have plenty of knee room, foot room, and stuff like that. I'm perfectly comfortable back here. You do have heated rear seats as well as dual zone climate control in the back of the X6M, which is always nice to see. And BMW doesn't skimp out on the back seats. You still get carbon fiber trim. You have ambient lighting. You have all this supple merino leather all over the place. You have your Bang & Olufsen speakers, which we'll talk about more when we go up front. But overall, back seat of the X6M is a nice place to be. You have some tie downs for your child seat, stuff like that. Fold down center armrest with cup holders as well. All right, so that's going to do it for the cargo area as well as the rear seats in this X6M. Now we're going to hop into the front area of the car, but before we do that, I just want to have you guys take a look at these front seats. These are specific to the X6M of this generation. You'll notice if you actually look at these seat controls that they're extremely adjustable. You have a separate adjustment for the top portion of the backrest. You have lumbar support, obviously. You have adjustable side bolsters and memory, as well as an extendable thigh support. So lots of adjustability and a really attractive looking seat with that nice M logo embossed into the headrest. So definitely a nice place to sit, spend some time. They're extremely comfortable. And of course, very sporty as far as the way that they hold you in place when you're driving around in your X6M, especially if you're driving a little bit more dynamically. These seats with their heavier bolsters will definitely keep you in place where you need to be. So those are the seats. Let's hop inside, talk a little bit more about the interior. All right, so here we are on the interior of the 2019 X6M. As you'll notice, it is a little bit different than the current G06 generation. Being an F-chassis car, we have an F-chassis steering wheel, we have iDrive 6, some of the familiar F-chassis climate controls, infotainment stuff down here. We'll go over some of that stuff. Let's start over in the cockpit area, the driver's seat, the most important seat, starting with the steering wheel. So this is the much-loved F-chassis M steering wheel. I personally love the steering wheel. I think it's probably the best steering wheel that BMW has ever done. It feels fantastic at 9'3". You have some nice 10 and 2 notches. It's very thick. The rim is really substantial. It's just a great steering wheel. It also looks really good. Over here you have some cruise control buttons, but more excitingly you have your M1 and M2 buttons. M1 in this car particularly is set up for all your comfort settings. You'll see in the gauge cluster that it will show what settings your drivetrain, suspension, and steering are set to. M1 is efficient, comfort, and comfort. If we press M2, everything goes into Sport Plus. My heads-up display gets a little bit more aggressive, showing the RPMs rather than just my speed and media stuff. So the steering wheel is fantastic. It also has these paddle shifters for your transmission control mounted on the back. They are mounted to the steering wheel, thankfully, rather than the column. So if you're going around a turn and you're maybe a little crossed up, you don't have to reach over here for an upshift. You just have the paddle right there as long as you're 9'3", which is great. You'll also notice as we look towards the center of the interior, carbon fiber trim on the center as well as the doors. Front and back, there is carbon fiber in both areas, so that looks really nice. Adds a really sporty touch to the interior. Let's talk a little bit about this center screen. So this car is currently running iDrive 6. This is one generation prior to iDrive 7, but it's still a fantastic infotainment system, super easy to use. It's organized in a 6-tile layout. So over here on the left, you have media, phone, navigation. Then if we scroll over one, we have connected drive. That's all your apps and stuff. My vehicle for vehicle settings, status, stuff like that, and then your notifications. One interesting thing about this particular infotainment system in this particular car is that this car is equipped with the Bang & Olufsen upgraded sound system. It sounds fantastic, and if you want to take a look right above the screen here when I turn on the radio, you see that speaker pop right out of the dashboard, which looks so cool, and it sounds great as well. Coming down to the center console, like I said, this is all pretty familiar stuff for F-chassis owners. Maybe you're in an X6 now, you want to upgrade to the X6M. This is all going to feel super familiar, but while we're down here, we'll point out that the X6M is extremely well equipped. Heated and ventilated front seats. You have all your preset buttons down here as well. And then if you want to look down towards the center console here, you'll notice that you have your gear selector for the M transmission. These work a little bit differently than the traditional transmission selectors. We click over for drive. And now when we're in drive, if we start clicking back or forward, we can actually shift into sequential mode. So we can shift either with our paddles or down here. And because BMW knows manual transmissions, they know that an upshift is to pull down and a downshift is to push up, just because on a traditional manual transmission, all your higher gears are going to be on the lower portion down here. So it just makes sense to pull down for an upshift. We can click over for neutral and then over and up for reverse. Then if you want to put it in park, flick it down into neutral and then pull up on your electronic parking brake right here. You'll also notice these controls here are for adjusting your drivetrain as well as your suspension settings. This top button here adjusts your engine response. You can toggle through Sport, Sport Plus, and Efficient. Then you have your damping settings. Again, you have Sport Plus, Sport, and Comfort, and then your steering settings, Sport Plus, Sport, and Comfort. As I press these buttons, I'm seeing in my heads-up display, my gauge cluster, I should say, these things change. So you can adjust these in real time, and you can also program them to your M1 and M2 buttons. You also have a button for your parking sensors, some camera options, as well as your hill descent control, and then of course traction control as well. And while we're down here talking about this stuff in this section, you do have a button for your shift speed adjustment. So if we put the car in drive, we're able to adjust our shift speed from slower and smoother, more efficient. We can toggle into a middle setting, and then we can go all the way up for the quickest, most aggressive shifts possible. Pop it back into neutral and park, and I want to point your guys' attention up to this center screen here. Because this is an M car, you do have some specific things to M vehicles. We'll go into My Vehicle, and we'll talk about how to set up your M1 and M2 buttons. These two options right here correspond to the M1 and M2 buttons on the steering wheel, and you can go in here and adjust how you want the car to be set up in each of those modes. Right now, this is our M1 setting, so we have traction control on, the engine is in efficient mode, chassis in comfort, steering's in comfort, the transmission is in D1, that's an automatic setting with smooth shifts, and our heads-up display is in our standard view. Now, if we want to toggle over to M2, we still have DSC on, but everything is toggled up to Sport Plus. Our transmission is in sequential 3 mode, so you're going to be shifting yourself. It is going to be sequential, and it's going to be the snappiest, most aggressive quick shifts. And our heads-up display is in the M view. You actually get a great look at what that looks like. So you have your speed limit, current gear position, as well as your current speed, and then your RPMs going across the top there. It looks really cool in the heads-up display. We'll show you guys a shot of that as well. But that's about it for configuring your M1 and M2 settings. That has always been, I think that started with the F-chassis cars. You have your configurable M1 and 2 buttons. I think those are great. It's better than a Sport, Comfort, and Eco mode because this is an M car. It is designed to allow the driver to tailor everything specifically to their liking. M1 and M2 button allows you to do that even more so than a traditional Sport, Comfort, and Eco button. So that is just about it for the interior of the X6M. Hopefully that gave you guys a good idea of what it's like to be inside an X6M, what it's like to kind of get familiar with all the controls and stuff like that. But let's hop back outside and we'll wrap up. All right, so that's going to do it for this walk around and overview of this 2019 BMW X6M. As we said earlier in the video, this is a certified pre-owned vehicle, so it is in stock, ready to go at our lot in BMW of Morristown. We're at 111 Ridgedale Ave. You can give us a call at 973-455-0700. If you're interested in this specific car or any other BMW, new or used, we have some cars in inventory at our CPO lot, or you can of course order a new BMW with one of our client advisors. Either way, we will get you set up and we'll have a new BMW in your garage as quickly as possible. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please check us out on social media, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at BMW of Morristown. But that's going to do it for this video. Please stay tuned for future videos. If you have any ideas, drop a comment down below, and we'll see you in the next one.